desire compelled her mortal birth. One in the front of the immemorial quest, a thinker and toiler in the ideal's air, brought down to earth's dumb need her radiant power.
Good morning. So, starting next week, I'll be out and I'll be joining you via Zoom from the US. There will be a Zoom link posted on the Savitri Bhavan website. If you don't find it there, then I would suggest you email to savitribhavan.org.in and request the link for the Zoom sessions. I think it's going to be the same link for the upcoming sessions. I don't know exactly how long I'll be out, but hopefully not too long.
You'll be at that time, 10:30 Sundays.
Yes, it'll be the same time, 10:30 on Sundays.
It fits for you.
Yeah, it'll work. It's the middle of the night, but it's okay. Yes. So we're going to do a test run this coming week and see if it works. So we hopefully will work out the kinks. If it doesn't go so well the first time, stick with it. It'll probably be better the next time. So we're continuing in Book 1, Canto 3, the Yoga of the King, the Yoga of the Soul's Release. The first two cantos, we were introduced to Savitri, and at the beginning of this canto, the story backtracks to before Savitri was born, and it recounts the yoga of her father, King Aswapati. So we've just read through, we read through the first half of the canto and started going through the beginning, passage by passage. We've come to page 23, 9 lines down from the top. I don't have the number. The little plot of our mortality is where we pick up. And already we've been introduced to Aswapati and given some hints of his, extraordinary status as a soul, perhaps as an avatar, even because of the lines. I'll just review. A pointing beam on earth's uncertain roads, his birth held up a symbol and a sign. His human self, like a translucent cloak, covered the all-wise who leads the unseeing world. Affiliated to cosmic space and time, and paying here God's debt to earth and man, a greater sonship was his divine right. Although consenting to mortal ignorance, his knowledge shared the light ineffable. So we get some suggestions there that he may be an avatar of the divine, leading the world in its upward ascent, evolution towards the full manifestation of the divine. And right from the beginning, we see that his realization is extraordinary. He just takes leaps into the infinite right from the very beginning of his introduction here. We're not given kind of a long preparation of sadhana. Right from the beginning, he seems to be someone who has descended from above and is awake to his divine potentials. So why don't we continue?
I think also this, the last line connected to the other
Yeah, we discussed that last time. But this, just to answer quickly your question, the protagonist of the mysterious play in which the unknown pursues himself through forms. So here is a suggestion of the significance of the manifestation in the world, that it's kind of a mysterious play, and the divine is seeking himself in forms. So he seeks through the ignorance, in the ignorance, through form, for his own greater reality. He hides his divinity in the form, gradually seeks for the realization of his divinity. So that, in a sense, is the significance of our manifestation here. He limits his eternity by the hours. The divine descends into the world, and as he does, descends into time and space and form and limitation. In his own natural being, he's infinite and eternal. But he wants to manifest in form. And he does, and he wants to reveal himself gradually over time in form. So that's the significance of our manifestation, which is suggested here in these opening lines of the canto. But I would like to skip ahead. We went through that first page last time, and let's continue reading. So Anandi, you could begin this little plot of our mortality.
Which line?
From 29,
Yeah. His will, a hunter in the trails of light.
Excuse me? I don't think you're on the right line.
Ah, the little plot, yes. The little plot of our mortality, touched by this tunnel from the heights we came, a playground of the living infinite. This bodily appearance is not all. The form deceives. The person is a mask. His deep in man's celestial powers can dwell. His fragile ship conveys through the sea of years, an incognito of the imperishable, a spirit that is flame of God abides, a fiery portion of the wonderful, artist of his own beauty and delight, immortal in our mortal poverty. This sculpture of the forms of the infinite, this screened and recognized inhabitant, in his state of his own veiled mysteries, hides in a small damn seed his cosmic thought, in the mute strength of the occult idea, determining predestinate shape and act. Passenger from the life to life, from scale to scale, changing the image self from form to form. He regards the icon growing by his gaze, and in the warm forces the coming God.
Thank you. Let's pause there. Here we see those opening lines that I had just discussed kind of elaborated further, and it kind of touches even on some of those same ideas. For example, in the line, or let's say the first sentence, the little plot of our mortality, touched by this tenant, from the heights became a playground of the living infinite. So that kind of reminds us of this mysterious play that was mentioned in the third line at the beginning of the canto. So this world is kind of like a playground or a play in which the divine is pursuing himself in form, and the divine, and here referring especially to Aswapati, is like a tenant from the heights. He's like kind of a renter who comes into his house in order to enjoy this manifestation in the world.
He wants to become many.
He wants to become the many. Well, that's the idea of, entering into form and into the world, into manifestation, instead of just being one infinite, undifferentiated, he becomes differentiated in form, in different beings. And then in this next sentence, again, suggesting something about Aswapati, and perhaps that he is an avatar, a manifestation of the divine. It says, this bodily appearance is not all. The form deceives. The person is a mask. Hid deep in man's celestial powers can dwell. So behind the form of a human being, that living infinite may be there gazing out through that form into the world. And the same idea continues. His fragile ship conveys through the sea of years an incognito of the imperishable. This incognito, one who is concealing his identity, someone unknown. So he hides himself, in a sense, in form. It's not apparent on the surface, but yet that divine can be within the avatar, but also within each of us is there, in a way hiding behind the screen of the form. Yeah, this fragile ship, that's the form. The form is fragile. It's ephemeral. It only lasts for some years and then decays, and the spirit within withdraws from it. And then he refers to that spirit in the next sentence. A spirit that is a flame of God abides. It continues. A fiery portion of the wonderful. The soul is like a flame of the divine within each individual. Artist of his own beauty and delight, immortal in our mortal poverty. That soul within also fashions the form, develops the form according to its own will and purpose in the manifestation. It shapes our being, our outer being, our mind and life and body. And that idea is further developed in the next. This sculptor of the forms of the infinite, this screened, unrecognized inhabitant, initiate of his own veiled mysteries, hides in a small dumb seed his cosmic thought. The soul holds within it all the potentials of the being that can and will manifest in time, whether in this life or in succeeding lives. The soul holds all of those potentials that are gradually unfolding over time in the form of the being. It's like a seed that gradually is sprouting and blossoming. And then in the mute strength, the quiet strength, silent strength of the occult idea, it holds those potentials as if an idea within, determining predestined shape and act. That soul within is, as I said, developing the form, unveiling its potentialities over time, according to its will, its occult idea. Passenger from life to life, from scale to scale, through the course of many lives, gradually ascending higher and higher in scale in the evolutionary ascent. He regards the icon growing by his gaze. The icon, an icon is an image or representation, but especially a religious image of the divine, perhaps. So he regards its image of the divine that is growing and gradually manifesting in time and form. And in the worm foresees the coming God. So even at that early stage of the evolution, the soul within foresees what is coming, what is predestined to gradually unfold and manifest in the form.
I find by his gaze it's striking.
Which?
By his gaze.
By his gaze.
It's his gaze which makes
Yeah.
the icon grow.
Mm-hmm. So this icon, he regards the icon growing by his gaze. Yeah, it's a nice image. It's as if that soul within is observing and almost concentrating on the manifestation of the form of that form and of the inner divinity within, manifesting it in the form. It's as if he's looking at it. We talk of, the witness consciousness from within, watching all that is happening in the nature, standing back quietly, detached, but watching everything that happens. Shall we continue? Sudanya?
At last, the traveler in the path of time arrives on the frontiers of eternity. In the transcendent symbols of humanity wrapped, he feels his substance of undying self and loses his kinship to mortality. A beam of the eternal smites his heart. His thought stretches into infinitude. All in him turns to spirit vastness. His soul breaks out to join the oversoul. His life is ocean by that super life. He has drunk from the breast of the mothers of the worlds. A topless supernature fills his frame. She adopts his spirit's everlasting ground as the security of her changing world, and shapes the figure of her unborn mites. Immortally, she conceives herself in him, in the creature of unveiled creatrix work. Her face is seen through his face, her eyes through his eyes. Her being is his through a vast identity.
Thank you. Let's pause there.
Descending on his body, and then I think Savitri is taking birth. They are same body. But they are not coming to life. So the same body, mother already descended. And then her seed only stepping up body directly. So one body itself, that's it. Then I think, and see the scriptures, why role is not very important. Here, it was for the his body itself, mother divine descended, and then already both parts are there, so that the child has taken the birth. You see, right?
Yeah, he speaks of, he's referring in some sense to the avatar and the descent of the divine in the form of the Divine Mother, and here of Asopati. So,
but now Sri Aurobindo has created that lady figure also.
okay.
Not her really taking the birth, but her, you can say, parenting. You might have found her somebody who can parenting.
Okay.
So initially, what was Mahabharata story of Savitri book? There is no role of Savitri.
Well, okay. I don't know that there's no role, because also in the Mahabharata, Savitri is born and she's a form of. Yeah, I know, but okay. Here we're focused on this story.
Here again, you can just define
Okay, okay.
It looks like same body, mother also descended, and then she has shaped, given the shape of the mind.
Okay. So he had been speaking kind of more generally about the manifestation or of the divine in the course of the evolution, and kind of at that earlier stages also, like in the last line, and in the worm foresees the coming God. So he was looking at it in kind of a general way, that the soul within is determining the form, gradually unveiling its possibilities. And then in this canto, he comes to a higher stage. So at last, the traveler in the paths of time arrives on the frontiers of eternity. So now he begins to speak again more specifically about Aswapati, because Aswapati is someone who is arriving. He is the forerunner of the evolution, right? So he is arriving at his conscious realization of the divine within him. Please don't keep talking all the time. So he is beginning to lose his kinship to mortality. He is going beyond the limitations of his form. His thought stretches into infinitude. All in him turns to spirit vastnesses. His soul breaks out to join the oversoul. His life is oceaned by that super life. He has drunk from the breast of the mother of the worlds. A topless supernature fills his frame. She adopts his spirit's everlasting ground. So it's interesting that now he again is referring back to the Divine Mother, and that Aswapati, we could say, is opening up to the Divine Mother. He feels, he drinks from the breasts of the Mother of the worlds. And then what she represents is a supernature. She's the divine nature. She is a kind of a nature in which the divinity is revealed in form. So that topless supernature fills his frame. It descends into his form. That higher revealed divinity in nature begins to manifest in him and fill his being, fill his nature, mind, life, and body. In the creature, the unveiled creatrix works. So she begins manifesting all of her infinite divine possibilities within the form, within the individual being. Her face is seen through his face, her eyes through his eyes. Her being is his through a vast identity. And we see here, for those who have read through the book previously, kind of foreshadowed the next canto, The Secret Knowledge, where he speaks of he and she continually for long sections of the canto. He'll speak of this divine nature and the soul, the divine soul, he and she.
Can I say something from this?
Okay, very briefly.
But let's
Okay.
say it with the
I don't
text.
understand you.
Okay.
Okay. So we see this kind of unification of the divine nature and the divine soul taking place in this forerunner in Aswapati. So not only does he realize the soul within, but also his nature is participating in that divinity through the Divine Mother. So let's continue.
Then is revealed in man the overt divine, a static oneness and dynamic power. Descend in him, the integral Godhead seals. His soul and body take that splendid stamp. A long, dim preparation is man's life, a circle of toil and hope and war and peace, tracked out by life on matter's obscure ground. In his climb to a peak no feet have ever trod, he seeks through a penumbra shot with flame a veiled reality, half known, ever missed, a search for something or someone never found, cult of an ideal never made real here, an endless spiral of ascent and fall, until at last is reached the dying point, through which this glory shines, for whom we were made, and we break into the infinity of God. Across our nature's borderline we escape into supernature's arc of living light. This now was witnessed in that sun of force. In him that high transition laid its base.
Thank you. Let's pause there. So we see spelled out here more explicitly this idea of the integral realization of the soul and the divine nature in the being, in the individual. So this happens here, we see at the end in Aswapati, a static oneness and dynamic power. So those are the two aspects of the divine. That oneness of spirit, which many saints and yogis have realized, the spirit within, they live in that oneness. But that dynamic power, that is something more rare, where the divine nature, that supernature, as he refers to it here, takes hold of the lower nature and begins to transform it and express itself through it. So that static oneness and dynamic power descend in him. The integral Godhead seals. His soul and body take that splendid stamp. So that's the idea behind the integral yoga of Sri Aurobindo, to combine these two aspects of the divine. And then he speaks again of this evolution that's leading towards that integral realization. A long, dim preparation is man's life. So our life, through many series of forms, life after life, are this kind of slow, dim preparation for this integral realization. A circle of toil and hope and war and peace, tracked out by life on matter's obscure ground. This long preparation of this world, this evolutionary ascent, leading towards this great realization. An endless spiral of ascent and fall, until at last is reached the giant point through which his glory shines, for whom we were made, and we break into the infinity of God. And then he emphasizes this dynamic aspect. Across our nature's borderline, we escape into supernature's arc of living light. So we ascend into the divine realms or stage of nature. Here we're in the undivine nature, ignorant nature of mind, life, and body. But there is a higher nature which is divine, and the form partakes of and participates in that divinity, expresses it luminously.
Someone never found, and that is all about Superman, what
Yeah, he was speaking in general about this long, dim preparation of man's life, this long evolution in humanity. And we're always kind of seeking but never finding. We're never getting fulfillment. We're always looking for it, searching for it, but we don't know exactly what we're looking for. A search for something or someone never found. That's kind of the characteristic of our seeking. Cult of an ideal never made real here.
Where is that?
Which line? I don't know. It's in that section that we just read, about 2/3 of the way down.
also for whom we were made. So we have to come to the origin from the creation part.
Yeah, we have, the divine has manifested in this form for his own enjoyment, his own pleasure. We were made for him, but we were also made to manifest him in an integral divine way. So this integral realization was now witnessed in Asopati. In him, that high transition laid its base. Again, he is the forerunner of the evolution. He has laid the base for the realization of the rest of humanity. Let's continue. Tinika.
Original and supernal immanence, of which all nature's process is the art. The cosmic worker set his sacred hand to turn his frail mud engine to heaven use. A presence wrought behind the ambiguous screen. It beat his soil to bear a titan's weight. Refining half-hewn blocks of natural strength, it built his soul into a statued god. The craftsman of this magic stuff of self, who labors as his high and difficult plan in the wide workshop of the wonderful world, modeled in inward time his rhythmic parts. Then came the abrupt, transcendent miracle. The masked, immaculate grandeur could outline, at travail in the occult womb of life, his dreamed magnificence of things to be. A crown of the architecture of the worlds, a mystery of married earth and heaven, annexed divinity to the mortal scheme. A seer was born, a shining guest of time.
Thank you. Let's pause. So we see this immanent divine, the divine within the form, the manifestation, of which all nature's process is the art. We had spoken of that divine within fashioning the form according to its will in the course of time, gradually developing the form through a succession of lives to a higher and higher scale of manifestation of the divinity within, from simple forms of life to higher forms, more conscious forms in the animal, to humanity, to a more developed spiritual humanity, until finally we break into the realms of the divine in consciousness. So here,
Supernal means divine.
yeah, basically supernal is divine. Yeah, so we see again that immanence is then kind of referred to as the cosmic worker, worker with a capital W, again, that kind of suggesting the divine. And he set his secret hand to turn this frail mud engine to heaven use. In other words, to transform this limited, mortal, ignorant nature into a higher divine nature, into a higher divine form. A presence wrought. It's the divine presence with a capital P. Wrought is worked, like we wrought iron and form it into shape. So it's kind of a difficult working, bending into shape, into form. It worked behind the ambiguous screen of the ignorant nature, body. It beat his soil to bear a Titan's weight, refining half-hewn blocks of natural strength. It built his soul into a statued God. So we see that when this higher divine supernature descends, it begins working, transforming the nature, turning its ignorant processes and forms into divine forms and movements. The craftsman of the magic stuff of self, who labors at his high and difficult plan in the wide workshop of the wonderful world, modeled in inward time his rhythmic parts. Inward time. Yeah, I don't know exactly why he says inward time, but perhaps that inward time may be different than the outward time, in the sense that divine force can work very rapidly according to outward time. It's working, it's very, it's very rapid, it's very powerful. Its transforming force can sort of magically, very quickly transform the nature. What would seem to take a long, long time, in the natural development outwardly, can be done very quickly with the divine force.
In the scriptures, maybe present in the written, that God's days are time are different and times day.
Yeah, the divine time is different. And then came the abrupt transcendent miracle. So we see all of a sudden that transformation can come all of a sudden. The masked, immaculate grandeur could outline at travail in the occult womb of life. We see it's working occultly, hidden behind the form. We don't see the working of the divine within as it transforms the being. It could outline his dreamed magnificence of things to be. He shapes the forms that are to come in the evolution, in the future. They are being done in this forerunner of the evolution now, but he's shaping what is to be for the rest of humanity also. He becomes the model of what is to come. a crown of the architecture of the worlds, a mystery of married earth and heaven, annex divinity to the mortal scheme. The divine annexes, makes a part of its divine realm, this earth. A seer was born, a shining guest of time. So this is referring perhaps especially to Aswapati. This divinity within is now manifesting fully in him. His outer nature is being transformed and fully expressing that divinity within. Let's continue.
She is in forefront of the night and day. A gap was rent in the all-concealing vault. The conscious ends of being went rolling back. The landmarks of the little person fell. The Iceland ego joined its continent. Overpassed was this world of rigid limiting forms. Life's barriers opened into the unknown. Abolished were conceptions, covenants, and striking of subjection's rigorous clause, annulled the soul's treaty with nature's nations. All the grey inhibitions were torn off, and broken the intellect's hard and lustrous lid. Truth unpartitioned found immense sky room. An Empyrean vision now saw and knew. The bounded mind became a boundless light. The finite self mated with infinity. His march now soared into an eagle's flight.
Okay, thank you. Let's pause there. So we see here a description of this divinization of Aswapati and his life and form and his mind. For him, mind's limiting firmament ceased above. So his mind crossed the borders of limitation, of division that the mind normally has, and it ascends above into the, the vision, the knowledge of the infinite. And then he uses this kind of mythic image in the griffin forefront of the night and day. So a griffin is a mythological creature having the head and wings of an eagle and the hind legs of a lion. So he's kind of this transitional being, you could say, moving from the earth, from the animal life into the higher realms of the divine, like an eagle spreading his wings towards, soaring towards the divine spirit.
When we say here that this is the birth of the psychic being, it is seer world.
This a seer was born, the birth of, well, I think it's a little bit more than that, perhaps. I mean, I don't know. You could say the psychic being, but yeah, maybe a full realization of that psychic being.
Really doesn't show the Savitri part, really seer one. He gets up there.
Mhm. So we see Asapati as this kind of being moving from the divine or from the animal towards the divine state. The griffin forefront of the night and day, a gap was rent in the all-concealing vault, that vault of our lower nature which constrains us, holds us back into mortality and into limitation and ignorance. He breaks through. A gap was rent, was opened up in that vault, and the conscious ends of being went rolling back. The landmarks of the little person fell. The island ego joined its continent. Overpast was this world of rigid, limiting forms. Life's barriers opened into the unknown.
What's the exact meaning when rolling back?
The conscious ends of being went rolling back. They were, I think, the limitations of the nature, the ends of our limited nature went back, receded. Those limitations receded back, rolling back.
Earlier it was based on the ego, now it is based on the psychic.
I think it's because there are many references in these pages to the fact that, for example, it says a topless supernature faces men. So there is no limit. And so the limits, he breaks the limits, he goes over to something unknown. There are many references to this breaking.
Yeah. Life's barriers opened into the unknown. That's another reference. So all these limitations are receding. They're going back, they're rolling back, they're disappearing. He's joining with that infinite that surrounds us.
Also, across our nature borderline, we escape.
Mm-hmm. Abolished were conceptions, covenants. Conceptions usually refer to kind of mental ideas. They're limited generally. So those laws that limit us, our ideas about reality being limited, were abolished. All these limiting ideas of mind were abolished, were disappeared, were erased. Covenants,
treaty.
yeah, like treaties, agreements, like formal agreements, kind of. And striking off subjection's rigorous clause. So we have this kind of part of our covenant, we could say, our agreement with the limited nature is that we are subject to these various laws of nature. But those clauses, those agreements that we've made are stricken off. Again, he's using these different images and analogies to describe this being breaking into the infinite, breaking through all limitations. Yeah. So he's breaking into this unpartitioned truth, unpartitioned, undivided, the infinite truth spread out wide, found immense sky room, and Empyrean vision saw and knew. Empyrean, a highest knowing celestial. These are some of the terms I have here. Came from Empyrean,
The highest heaven.
highest heaven. So he sees from this higher divine vision. It saw and knew. Doesn't think out. It sees truth in its reality, in a vision, and in a direct knowledge. The bounded mind became a boundless light. The finite self mated with infinity. So we see him breaking out into the infinite. His march now soared into an eagle's flight.
Yeah, now it is an eagle, and before it was a griffin.
Yeah, but this griffin.
The griffin is a mythical animal, like a chimera.
Yeah, but it has an eagle's head.
Yes.
And hind legs of a lion.
It walk and it could fly.
Yeah.
And now it becomes an eagle only.
Yeah. So his mind. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of half divine. Last time we talked about this, well, not last time, but earlier we had talked about this word march and how it's used in Savitri. Here he uses it again, this march. But you see this march is kind of like this slow collective movement forward in unison, but here his march now soars into an eagle's flight. It's no longer this slow step-by-step advance, but it flies out ahead far into the infinite. We can do another.
Out of apprenticeship to ignorance, wisdom appraised him to her mastercraft and made him an
Archmason.
archmason of the soul, a builder of the immortal secret house, an aspirant to supernal timelessness, freedom, an empire called to him from on high, above mind's twilight and life's star-led night. There gleamed the dawn of a spiritual day. As so he grew into his larger self, humanity framed his movements less and less. A greater being saw a greater world. A fearless will for knowledge dared to erase the lines of safety. Reason draws that bar. Mind's souls dive into the infinite. Even his first steps broke out small earth bounds and loitered in a vaster, freer air.
Thank you. Let's pause. An apprentice is someone who learns usually from someone more skilled or a master of a craft. So out of apprenticeship to ignorance, he loses this training, you could say, this training period in the ignorance of mind, and now wisdom upraised him to her master craft and made him an archmason of the soul.
What is an archmason?
So archmason is like the head mason, in charge of the other masons who would build, let's say, a house or a structure.
What is called here a maestri? Maestri.
Yeah. Master.
Mason plus architect, archmason. Like what is it? He is the archmason.
But made him an archmason of the soul. So he's fashioning the soul according to his new abilities. A builder of the immortal secret house. An aspirant to supernal timelessness. So he's creating, in a sense, his form, his expression in body and life, and in perhaps his mental expressions. He's building that expression, but in a divine, making it a divine expression, no longer limited to the ignorance. And then it refers to him as an aspirant. We get this idea of Aswapati is the Lord of Tapasya. He's the seeker and disciplined yogi aspiring towards the divine, to supernal timelessness. And now freedom and empire call to him from on high. He feels this call of the infinite, of freedom, calling him. And above mind's twilight and life's star-led night. So we see beautifully imaged here the mind's twilight. It's a kind of a semi-darkness. Above that semi-darkness and life's star-led night. The life also, it's kind of a night, it's dark, but it has these points of light within it, visible. Above that, there gleam the dawn of a spiritual day. He sees beyond these limitations of the ignorant nature to the divine nature above. And so he grew into his larger self. Humanity framed his movements less and less. He begins losing all of these limitations of the normal humanity, opens up into a greater nature. A greater being saw a greater world. A fearless will for knowledge dared to erase the lines of safety reason draws that bar minds soar, souls dive into the infinite. He has this fearless will for knowledge. He sweeps aside the lines of safety that reason provides. Reason always hems us into limitations, divides up the world in neat little packages and divisions.
And they certainly are very daring to say that we can transform even the body,
Yeah.
to make it supramental, and it was extremely daring.
Yes.
And that is probably why he was not really accepted in India, because he was so radical.
So she's suggesting kind of the audaciousness of Sri Aurobindo to suggest, to put forward this kind of ideal of the transformation of the bodily life. So she's suggesting this, he had this fearless will for knowledge and for realization, and he doesn't care about, these limited ideas that we can only go so far, we can only do this much. We can't transform the body. We can't have a divine life or a divine humanity.
Yeah, that is human nature, what to do.
It's all a dream. It's all very, very nice ideas, but it's not practical. Get back, get a job and earn some money. So I love this line, even his first steps broke our small earth bounds and loitered in a vaster, freer air. So we see that with Aswapati, we don't have this long preparation of yoga. Even his first steps break our small earth bounds. And it's also, we see that with Sri Aurobindo in some sense too. I mean, very quickly he practices yoga with this yogi, Lele, and within 3 days he's silenced his mind, and immediately coming after that is the realization of nirvana, and then a higher power descends and begins taking up his actions. It all just happens so quickly.
Guardian to the room, he was staying and taking secretary house and taken out of the
Loiter means just to kind of hang out. People in our country, we talked, the police would stop when there's a group of boys would be loitering, standing around on the street corner, and then, disperse them, and so they don't get in trouble. But here, they're just kind of, he's relaxing in this vaster, freer air. He's up above. So we're going to stop there for today, and we'll pick up next time.
Asia was born, a shining guest of time. For him, mind's limiting firmament ceased above. The landmarks of the little person fell. The island eagle joined its continent. Overpast was this world of rigid, limiting form. Life's barriers opened into the unknown.
Thanks to Sri Aurobindo.